Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, our balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade teases 25 more years of this show. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including Switch firmware update 11.0 and dates for Doom Eternal and Super Nintendo World. Then on Thursday, we are time traveling in Nintendo games. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am wondering now what, balloons would represent this show in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Do you think we would get two separate balloons, one for you, one for me?
I mean, I imagine that it would sort of appear like two balloons, but it's one balloon stitched together, right? Like there might be separate pumps for are they helium? They got to be helium, right?
I would think that they're helium, but I don't know that for sure.
Look, if anyone is a balloon technician who has parade experience, Rose Parade or better, email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And let us know how those balloons stay in the air. Anyone less qualified than that, though, I do not want to hear from.
Well, balloons in the Rose Parade, I think that's a pretty low qualification because those don't exist as far as I know.
Well,
unless they're unless they're fashioned out of flowers.
Then it's an impossibly high.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right.
We,
in this segment, we are both wrong in different ways.
Look, Mark, I've never actually been to the Rose Parade. Have you?
No, it'd be cold and you'd be so tired. I'm too old.
Yes, that's right. We are too old and too tired. Speaking of too old and too tired, my copy of Sonic Forces, or maybe the Sonic Forces borrowing program, I'm not sure which is the old tired thing in this. But you would like to borrow my copy of this game. I know you would. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. No qualifications are needed for that one. We don't need experts in any field to email to that. All we need is your mailing address so we can send you my copy of this game to play for as long as you want. There's a possibility that you may get a copy of Untitled Goose Game. That's just a little bit of a spoiler thrown in there. The goose is in there to mess up your day. And I'm sorry, but that's what the goose does. So good luck to people wanting to play Sonic Forces. Good luck to people wanting to play Untitled Goose Game. Get on that list and get one of these two games.
Yeah, we're rooting for you all.
Right, but we're not going to say what result we're rooting for. But
right,
we are rooting for you. Mark, we got a couple emails here that I'd like to get to before we jump into the show proper. One here addresses an email from last week. Do you recall last week Lizzie wrote us asking for some Christmas advice because she is getting her boy. Oh, and again, Lizzie is Lizzie's boyfriend. If you're listening to this, check with Lizzie to make sure this shouldn't be a surprise because we're about to give away the surprise. She is buying him a Switch, and she asked for some game suggestions and specifically said, but not Breath of the Wild. He's been playing it on my Switch. I don't think he would want to start all over again from the beginning. Email from Jason. Jason writes, Dear Nintendo Cartridge Society, I've been meaning to email in for a while, so this email is going to be kind of long. Sorry. Jason, it's not that long. You're doing great. He says to Lizzie, if your boyfriend really likes Breath of the Wild, you could still buy it for him. I had a similar situation where I played it on my brother's Switch and wanted to transfer my save data to my Switch when I got one. I had put in over 100 hours into the game, so I was worried about losing my data. It's actually pretty easy to transfer the save data. If he has Switch Online, then he can download the save data instantly to his Switch. If he doesn't, he can still transfer the data over through settings. This method works just so long as you don't send the data twice or you'll delete it. I hope this helps. So, good to know that you can transfer the data. And if he's still playing Breath of the Wild, maybe that is something that he would want. The email continues. This is where He apologizes for it being kind of long. He says, unrelated to that, I wanted to tell you, Mark and Patrick, that I really enjoy your show. Sometimes when I feel sad or tired, I copy your intro to myself and start to feel better. Thanks for making a great show. Keeps me going through this cruddy time. I went back and listened to some of your first episodes. You guys have changed a lot for the better.
Jason, you're right on all counts.
Yeah, just spot on, man. We have gotten better. It's true. I don't recommend that anyone go back to the beginning of our show. But we've just put out so many. I don't even know how would you? This is our 414th episode of this show. So it's anyone going back through the back catalog. Godspeed, and you have my blessing. But my goodness. Seems like quite the undertaking.
Yeah, let us know how the news episodes hold up.
P.S. says Jason, you guys got me listening to the song Bad Cinderella. It started somewhat ironically, but I'm starting to think I genuinely like it.
That right there, you're describing like 90% of Andrew Lloyd Webber's catalog.
Yes, that's right.
Welcome aboard.
Sort of in a similar vein, we got an email from Arlo, and Arlo writes in with a couple different observations, but I just wanted to hit the top here of his email. He writes, Dear Cartridge Society. The full name is appreciated, of course, Nintendo Cartridge Society. I was recently inspired to make a podcast with my other Nintendo-obsessed friend. Do you have any tips for aspiring podcasters? How did you get your content out there, and how do you get all of these great podcast ideas? Mark, do you have any advice for aspiring podcasters?
I think what we have learned is that consistency is helpful, right? We've initially we did one episode a week, but even though like our listenership was small, like we did that one episode, we committed to it, and then eventually we started doing 2 episodes, and we have committed to that. I think consistency is key, and it's the easiest way to get better.
Yeah, consistency is key, and I think that the other thing is to be yourself. I say all the time that the only asset that we have on the show that no one else has is you and me, is Mark and Patrick. No other show has Mark and Patrick, and every other show may have more access to games or more time to play them or whatever. They don't have the two of us. So make sure that you and your Nintendo-obsessed friend remain you and your Nintendo-obsessed friend. And you just present that. Don't present something you're not. Present what you are. Mark, how do we come up with these great podcast ideas?
Oh boy, in a panic a lot of times.
Sometimes if we land on a theme that we can bleed for a month, we do it. And sometimes it is kind of a scrambling. I think a nice thing to keep in mind is accept that not all of your ideas are going to be great. And you'll do some ideas and you're like, all right, that didn't really work for us. We discovered early on that we don't do good like game reviews. We did start off doing some episodes that we were like, this is our review of this. But that's, we need some kind of like structure. We want something like to rank in there or something we can talk about more abstractly. So find out, you'll discover your pratfalls as you go. This is also part of being consistent, right? Is just keep doing it. You'll discover what you're not good at. And then you just don't do the things you're not good at. Mark, we just do episodes that are good now.
Yeah, it's the key to our success, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's just fail for a long time, and then and then you'll succeed. Okay, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week.
So I finished ABZU, which not a super long game. I'm about to say something that sounds really mean, but I don't intend it to be. But $1.99 was like the perfect price to pay for this. I think it's normally $20, and after having experienced it, like I don't think I'd be mad if I paid $20 for it because it's a really beautiful and obviously like thoughtfully created game. But I think it might, like, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't pay $20 for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. So did you find like the ending satisfying, or?
Yeah, I thought the whole experience was satisfying. I mean, again, I paid $2 for this game, but It
But
really
even
is
still,
like
you spend time with it, right? Like that
totally. And
can be a
it's
bigger
I think it's
expenditure.
really like artfully crafted. I know it's not the same exact team who worked on Journey, but it is some of the same creators. And I think Journey on the whole was like a more satisfying experience, but it also just had the benefit of being like new. And this feels less novel, but it is like clearly like there was a lot of thought put into it, and there are moments of the game that like when everything comes together, it's a really cool experience. So I would probably wait until it's on sale again, maybe not that cheap, maybe like $10, but definitely worth seeking out if you can get it on Switch, or like I know it's been available on other platforms. It's definitely
Yeah.
worth playing.
Does it have the same sort of like multiplayer component as Journey did?
I don't think so.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, it's a purely single player experience.
I mean that could also just be different now. Like one of the hooks of Journey was that you would be you would be like paired up with another player, but like the game never really tells you like how you're teaming up with. It's just like there's
Right.
another what appears to be an NPC in there, but it's actually being controlled by another person, sort of randomly selected, and you
Yeah.
lack the communication tools, and there's no way to like matchmake or anything like that.
Right. And it's really cool cuz like it comes at a time in the story and journey that you're like I don't know, it all just like comes together really well. And
Hmm.
uh this game isn't going for that, but um it's just not as good of an experience. It's still like an experience worth having, but it's just
Yeah, yeah,
not
sure, sure,
like
sure.
as good. I've also been playing a little bit more of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I actually haven't gotten as far into it as I want to, so I don't really have much more to say other than it's been fun to unlock like the other or some of the other unplayable characters. But I really want to get further into it. I really want to get further into the story, and like I'm not really far enough. So nothing particularly new on that front.
Let's set a goal of next week, because I also, the game remains on my Switch. I still haven't touched it. But so yes, let's set a date for next week. So we can have something to say about it.
Okay, perfect. I think that's a great idea. There
Yeah.
are there's like at least one other game that's coming out this week that I am excited
Yes.
for, but I don't but yes, I think I need to prioritize Hyrule Warriors and just know that in the next year there's going to be like gaps where I wish I had games to play, and that is perhaps when
And
like
you'll have them. Yes.
exactly, yeah.
So I mean, the thing that has been keeping me from playing Hyrule Warriors very much is that my Hades fever has not yet broken. I am still sick in bed, as sick as a dog, playing Hades nonstop because the game is so impossibly good. I have vanquished Hades with 5 out of 6 of the weapons
Ooh,
at this
nice.
point. Thank you. I beat him with the gauntlets this morning. It was my first time beating him with gauntlets, and the first time beating him with any of the heat meter applied. So after you beat him the first time, there's like an infernal pact that pops up where you can add like different modifiers to the run that make it more difficult in very specific ways. And the first time you do it with any given weapon, you can just do like one of these things and it'll fill up the heat meter. And I think after that, it'll be like you have to add 2 things or 3 things to fill up the heat meter and get more rewards as you do it. So this is the first time that I was actually able to beat Hades with some of the heat applied. And it was with a weapon that I hadn't used before. Man, it just felt so good. Like, I don't know, when you get a good run and you start getting like good boons from the gods as you're going through there, and you've got like a nice little like loadout going, and you're like, this is nothing like the last time I played this game. It's just a magical experience where you're like, I'm in the zone just like I was last time, but I'm doing completely different things. My strategies are way different. It's just awesome. And I continue to, I don't I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, and I feel like I have nothing new to say about it, other than it continues to surprise me every single time I play. And also I'm continuing to romance Thanatos, and and I got a little bit of a breakthrough where there's like it shows relationship status by filling in
Mhm.
hearts. And there is you get to a point where there's like a heart with like a lock on it. And I have broken through that lock. So Just the normal building stops at a point, and then you have to do something special. I have done that special thing. So
Is there a like gameplay benefit to romancing, or is it just purely for enjoyment?
So and I don't know if this is only available for the characters that you romance, or if it is part of what you can build the other relationships up to. But there is like an assist that you can get. So I have one of these things from Thanatos that I can like make him appear on the map at one point and just deal like a huge amount of damage to the bad guys. And you can do it once through the course of the thing. I assume that the rest of the romanceable characters have that, and maybe like Achilles and Hypnos and some of the other like sort of regulars around Hades' palace would all offer those sorts of gifts. But I don't know. It's again one of the many systems that I sort of stumble into as I'm playing this game. I've now logged over 50 hours. The Switch
Nice.
told me today. I was like, oh yes, no, I'm deeply obsessed with this game. I absolutely love it. Speaking of games that we put way too much time into, of course, it was Turkey Day this last week. So Sarah and I were in Animal Crossing New Horizons to celebrate Turkey Day with Franklin, the chef, who is a turkey and is making a lot of Thanksgiving meals, none of which include turkey. He does make a little joke about it at one point where like you have to gather fish for him to like make this like salmon dish, and he's like, you wouldn't believe the way some people celebrate this holiday. I thought it was really cute, and also just give me Animal Crossing, give me more holidays. I love them every time. It's adorable. People are standing around the tables that are set up in resident services, and you put like a new dish down, and they all applaud it. It's incredible. It's so cute.
Is it snowing yet? Does it, or
No, not
maybe
yet.
not until December? Maybe not until
Yes.
today.
Ooh, it may be snowing by the time this episode comes out. But when we were last in it, no, it was not snowing. Mark, and then one last game that I have been playing a little bit that I just started playing today because I picked up today. Yoku's Island Express is on sale on the Nintendo eShop for $4.99. That is 75% off its normal price. And this is a game that I know I said if it ever went on sale for something reasonable that I would absolutely pick it up. So I did. And I will have more to report on that as I continue to play. But I'm glad I picked it up, especially for $5.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. I understand your frustrations about not being able to get to where you want to get to. It is a Metroidvania style game, but all of the locomotion is based on pinball mechanics. And it can be frustrating sometimes when you're like, okay, I've done the thing. Now I just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
And you can't do it for a while. But, that's like pinball, though. Like, if you just, like, set your mind to pinball instead of to Metroidvania, I think it's a little bit more satisfying.
Yeah, I didn't have the patience for it, but I can appreciate why somebody would enjoy it.
Very good. All right, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, December 1st, Empire of Sin is released on Switch. This is the game that's been featured, I feel like multiple times, but at least once in a recent.
At least twice. At least twice.
Yeah, like I feel
no,
like
this is the one that might have been in like a PlayStation State of Play or something.
Yeah, that could have been it. I just feel like there's been like surprising amount of buzz around this game. Things became clear for me when I realized that it was developed by Romero Studios, the newest studio of John Romero. And so I think that's why there's more attention being paid to it than I would normally expect for this like tactical game that's set in like 1920s potentially.
Yeah, it's like Prohibition era Chicago, right?
Yeah. Anyways, that comes out today. Tomorrow, December 2nd, Wednesday, Sheeran the Wanderer, The Tower of Fortune, and The Dice of Fate is released on Switch. I am excited for this one. Sheeran the Wanderer was like a game that I picked up on the DS. It was the first roguelike I had ever played. Became really obsessed with it. Never made it that far, but put hours and hours and hours into that game. This one is only $20. It's a port of, I think it was originally a PSP game. that's being brought over to PC and Switch. I'm really excited. This is definitely one that I'm picking up.
Cool.
On Thursday, December 3rd, Ubisoft's Immortals Phoenix Rising is released on Switch and other platforms. This is the Breath of the Wild like game that deals with Greek mythology. The reviews started coming out yesterday and are so far fairly positive. And so I think seeing the reviews and seeing the positive impressions, or the majority of them seem to be positive impressions, it definitely raised my interest in this game, but not one that I'm picking up immediately. We'll probably wait for it to be on sale.
Yeah, so this is a game that actually, as Arlo's email went on, he asked us about, that he got to try it out on the Stadia
Oh, cool.
sort of demo, as it was a couple weeks ago. And yeah, he was just asking about our thoughts on Immortals: Phoenix Rising. I'm sort of having read some of the reviews that popped yesterday. It seems like kind of right in line with what I was expecting, where like good but not great. And I don't need a game to be great to play it. But I don't know. I'm not really an Ubisoft open world game kind of guy. And also I know that Ubisoft games will drop in
Yeah,
price.
100%.
Like this game will look. The what's it called? Starlink Battle for Atlas, I think, is on sale for $15 right now. And that game was fun. I shouldn't have spent $80 on it. This game, yeah, I'm just saying, I'll wait. It'll be cheap at some point,
Yeah,
and
for
I'll pick
sure.
it up then.
I mean, like we've seen with, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle,
Yeah.
like that game goes down to like $10-20 fairly often. And yeah, I completely agree. It's something that I'm like generally interested in. I love Breath of the Wild. I am excited for a like Breath of the Wild like game in theory, but something that I'm willing to pay maybe like $20 for.
Yeah, I mean, with the thing with Breath of the Wild, and it's this is the thing that like goes through my mind when like Genshin Impact is mentioned or this game Immortals, where it's like the Breath of the Wild is great in concept, but it's also great in execution. Like all the specifics of how that game actually works and how like it guides you into exploration, and like even down to the mechanics that people don't like the weapon degradation,
Mm-hmm.
that's based on exploration as well. It's just so the game itself is so good, that having another game that is like it may not actually be like a similar draw, you know?
Well, this is also really silly, but I remember when Fallout 3 first came out, I played so much Fallout 3. I think I put like over 100 hours into that game. And then 1 year later, New Vegas was released, and I bought New Vegas, played it for a little bit, but it was so much like Fallout 3 that like I felt
Yeah.
burned out. Like I was like, I can't put another 100 hours into it. And I'm a little bit worried that I know that, Breath of the Wild 2 or the sequel like in, like isn't coming in the next couple of months. But I am worried.
You don't know that.
I am worried
It
a
could
little
be out
bit.
in April. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. It could be out next year if nothing else. And I am a
Yeah.
little worried that like, oh, if I would rather save my like Breath of the Wild experiences, like that amount of time that I could put into a game like for Breath of the Wild 2. And I have a little bit of fear that if I like play this game,
Yeah.
I'll be like burned out on those mechanics by the time like Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, and I don't want that.
Man, it is incredible. Breath of the Wild 2, whatever that game is going to be called, it
Mm-hmm.
probably won't be Breath of the Wild 2, because there's only one Zelda 2, right?
Right.
um, and it could be nothing like Breath of the Wild. Like it could look like it, but the priorities of it could be completely different.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I hadn't really thought about that. Ooh, that's a deep well to go into. Maybe for another time. And
Yes.
then on December 4th, Friday, Fitness Boxing 2 Rhythm and Exercise is released.
That was featured in one of the partner showcases recently, so just wanted to follow up.
I
That's
think
when
there was a
it's coming out.
demo for that one too that I think I played. John Wick Hex is released on the Switch eShop.
Yeah, that's the like John Wick, like sort of strategy game where like you plot out his moves in advance and then like sort of watch them play out in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. And then
It's a
Fire.
it's a Mike Bithell joint. The Thomas Was Alone guy.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's really
Yeah.
cool. Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light. This is the original NES game, which had previously never been localized for countries outside of Japan, and it's coming to Switch on Friday. So this is a game where I am like 99% sure that I will never play it. Maybe I'll turn it on for a little bit, but I think it's $6, $5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I
It's a must buy.
totally bought it. I already bought it. Um, the funny thing about this, or I don't know if it's funny, haha, but like Nintendo recently started like their new pre-order thing, right? Where you, instead of like preloading where you pay it up front, you
Yeah.
can like pre-order it, and then 1 week before it's released they charge you for it, and you can start like it downloads to your system. With Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, I was expecting it to work that way. It did, but maybe I must have been within the 1 week period when I bought it, because it charged me immediately and downloaded it. I'm glad I said this out loud, because I have gone through the thought exercise now and I understand why it worked the way it worked. Patrick, are you picking this one up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am in the same boat as you, where like there's not a huge likelihood that I'm actually going to play all the way through this game. I have I don't know, maybe 4 unfinished Fire Emblem games on on various systems in this house. And I love them all for a couple hours. And would love them all the way to the end. I'm sure of it, but I just get hung up on having spent already 70 hours with it or something like that. So yeah, no, I'm 100% picking it up on Friday. I feel no need to preload this one or pre-order it. On account of I can't imagine it takes very long to download.
No, it takes
an
2
NES
seconds.
Game. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it takes 2 seconds.
Oh, you know what? I should have mentioned this in what we've been playing. I downloaded all of the 3DS Picross games are $3 right now. So I downloaded I think like 3 of those just to like bank for later, because we were talking about Picross games, and Picross S5 just came out on the Switch, and I was like, why don't I just continue working my way through the series? Then realized there was a whole series of them on the 3DS that I hadn't picked up. So I'm playing some of those. They're on sale for $3 is like nothing. So yeah, that's something else I've been playing.
Yeah, like last Thursday, I think it was, we in response to a listener question, talked about some of the games that were on sale and on the Nintendo eShop right now, and I think it runs through Wednesday. And one of the games that was on there was Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, which I'd never played before, and it's down to $40. And so I bought it this weekend.
Very good.
It is now added to a growing list of JRPGs that I intend to play at some point, but I have no idea when I'm going to. So is it possible that I spend $40 on this game and will never play it? Let's just ask Dragon Quest XI Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch if that is true, because that is another game that I one day intend to play, but have yet to crack like the 2-hour mark on it.
Man, we don't have a good track record as far as JRPGs go on the show, do we?
They're just yeah, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't.
we don't.
I'm glad that you made it through Dragon Quest 11 as Echoes of Elusive Age Definitive
Edition
for Nintendo Switch. Because I before that game was released on Switch was like super excited, talked it up a bunch, love Dragon Quest, and then again have not cracked the 2-hour mark in it. Someday I intend to. Maybe before I play Tokyo Mirage Sessions. This is a game you can't win.
No, I mean, if you ever feel drawn to play either of those games, just do it, right? Like, that's always the way with a JRPG, right? Or most RPGs, really.
Yeah.
That when you feel the pull to it, like embrace that, and then the rest of the time pretend they don't exist. I've started too many Xenoblade games to feel differently. All right, so those are the new releases. Mark, let's close this out. Now it is time for a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus filling the contract of the piece. Mark, today we are talking about Christmas sweets. And part of the reason that this is on my brain, obviously, we are headed into the holiday season here. But Sarah and I built a gingerbread house from a kit this weekend. So there was lots of access to gumdrops and like a glue-ish frosting. And of course, lots and lots of gingerbread. And the thought of eating any of that house, first of all, we put too much work into it to eat it. That, first of all. And second of all, I don't want to eat gingerbread.
No. Also, a lot of times the kits like explicitly say, "Do not eat this."
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, it says on the front, there's nutritional information on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and it says, like, servings per container 34. So, like, I think they intend for 34 people to eat this thing.
Yeah, I feel like gingerbread. Oh man, gingerbread houses are, I think, in my opinion, less functional than jack-o'-lanterns, and jack-o'-lanterns are already not very functional.
See, I expect this thing to at least last a little bit longer as a decoration. Jack-o'-lantern, we don't have like an outdoor space or anything like that, so we had to just leave them in our house, and it was like 3 days before they started to smell. I think the gingerbread house will last a little bit longer.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I usually am just like, okay, I made this gingerbread. It's like a puzzle where you're like, and I complete it, and now what do we, like a puzzle or Labo? You're like, I completed it, and now what do I do with it?
Exactly. But so there must be Christmas sweets that we do like, right?
Right.
But before we get to Christmas sweets that we do like, I also just want to call out candy canes. Get out of here with candy canes. It's a bad candy, bad form factor to it. What's up with that, like, hook? Are you supposed to put your finger around that? Do you eat it first? It's a mess. And then it's just sticky and gross, and the taste isn't very good. I am not a candy cane fan.
Yeah, I admit to liking flavors of candy canes, but like traditional peppermint, like straight out. I'm talking like fruity flavors. If you can get your hands on some of those Sour Patch Kid candy canes, I mean, they're
Sour Patch Kid candy cane.
They're a hard candy that has the flavor of Sour Patch Kid, but like does not have the consistency of a Sour Patch Kid. So those I will defend, but essentially they're just like hard candies that taste like Sour Patch Kids, and that's like something I can totally get behind.
Yeah. What do you have like a favorite Christmas sweet, or one that like jumps out as like something that you do like?
I like and I don't know if this is strictly like a Christmas sweet, but I like ginger snaps a lot.
Oh, interesting. I gotta say, I'm not into a ginger, because that ginger snap is a pretty much like gingerbread though, right?
Well, no. I mean, I see where you're going with it, but in my mind, they do not taste all that similar. Because partly, like with gingerbread, it has to be like so
it's gotta be
tough.
Hard,
yeah. And even like the snappiest ginger snaps are not quite that like tough, because you don't have to construct a home out of them. But I concede your point.
But you like a ginger snap? Maybe I should try a ginger snap. I can't remember the last time I had one. Mark, this makes me think, of course, of Advent calendar chocolate. Did you guys keep Advent calendars when you were kids?
Yeah, and that was always fun. I actually, when I was like trying to figure out a potential topic for 433, I was looking at lists of like Christmas candy or like holiday candy, and it was on like eat this or don't eat that, like some website where it was like these are good for you and these are not good for you. Anyways, Advent calendars was their number one because they're small, like individual pieces of chocolate, and you eat them over like a long period of time.
Yeah, or if you were like my sister, you would just wait until like the end of the week, and then you would have like 7 pieces of chocolate you would just eat all at once. We were accompanied today by the GVSU New Music Ensemble with guest violinist Todd Reynolds. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Nintendo and Universal Studios Japan have announced that the new Super Nintendo World land at Universal Studios Osaka will be opening February 4th, 2021, and it looks awesome.
Oh, February 4th is so soon. It's
It
like
is.
2 months and change. Hard to imagine that anyone is going to an amusement park at that point, and certainly even harder to imagine flying to Japan to go to it.
I'm pretty sure that right now Japan still has like a travel restriction from visitors from the US. Super Nintendo World was originally supposed to open in 2020 before the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. That, of course, got delayed. The theme park land, of course, got delayed. It is now going to be opening February 4th. As part of this, they had previously, I think, shown off some images of inside, or they like leaked when that person published the website accidentally, or whatever happened. Anyways, I think this is I can't remember if those were official or not, but this was definitely the most official look we got inside the Mario Kart ride called Koopa's Challenge in Japan, where Bowser is still known as Koopa. And it looks so cool. The entrance to the ride is through Bowser's castle. They showed off some of the interior of it, including like the loading area and as part of the queue, like a giant Bowser statue. They showed off a little bit of the technology of the ride. There's like 4 people in each cart. You're racing against each other. Everybody's wearing these Mario caps that have augmented reality goggles attached to them. The AR features heavily in the ride. That's how it seemingly you will like collect items and use the items in the race. They're saying that like it'll be different every time. I don't know. This seems awesome.
Seems cool. Let me ask you this, because one of the things that I find frustrating about Universal rides is that they do a lot of that like simulated like motion where like you're seeing a screen and like you're being moved around, like the Simpsons ride or even like Harry Potter. But none of those are using AR, right? It's all like some sort of like gyro controls and like a screen. But this feels different. Like any motion that's actually happening or any motion that they're trying to convince you is happening will be happening, right? And the AR is just to like paint Mario specifics over it, right?
Yeah, seemingly. I mean, we haven't seen anything from the inside of the ride. It's definitely like a ride and not a simulator like Star Tours or anything. But as to how much like once you're in there, like are there a bunch of like animatronics of like Bowser or Mario or something? That would be awesome.
There better be.
Oh yeah, but like I don't know, or is it like a mix of screen and augmented reality, or is it like a combination of all of it? That's probably my guess. Knowing it's a Universal ride, I bet at some point you're gonna get sprayed with water.
You're definitely gonna get sprayed with water, and not like enough to cool you down. You're still gonna be too hot afterwards.
Is there
with the sole exception of Jurassic World? The Jurassic World ride will get you wet.
Soak you. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. Speaking of which, so this is opening in Japan early next year. Although it is also under construction at Universal Studios Hollywood, and so will be coming to the LA area at some point in the future. This land, I think, was also announced for Universal Studios Singapore. Was also supposed to be part of Universal Studios Orlando's like 3rd major theme park, but that project is on hold right now. So kind of crazy that Universal Studios Florida will probably be the last to get a Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, that is interesting, but it'll be like its own separate park?
Or like part of
Got it.
It was called Epic Universe. Although again, that project's on hold. Who knows what the final form of that will look like in the future.
Yeah, weird time for amusement parks.
Weird time for amusement parks. Man, I am so excited for Super Nintendo World. It looks like so much fun. I would definitely, if it were possible, try to book a trip to Japan to experience it at some point soon.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much, how long like behind the Japan opening the LA one will be. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
just with it being pushed back, like it feels like that gives that kind of makes it seem like there won't be as big a gap between them.
yeah, that's a good point. I haven't really seen updated like construction photos from the one
I mean, neither.
in Hollywood, but I'm guessing like last time it's just steel, so they're still at the first stages of it. So I would think it's still a couple years away.
All right.
A Pikachu balloon was featured in last week's Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, and during the parade, the Pokemon series 25th anniversary celebration was teased with a debut of a new logo. It's the silhouette of Pikachu's face. I don't really know how to describe this accurately. It is Pikachu's face, but it has no features, and in where there would
Other than
normally
ears, of
other
course.
than ears, yes. And where there would be he has like no eyes, no nose, no mouth, which sounds like a
A
I
horror
hesitate
movie. You're
yeah,
right.
I hesitate to describe it that way because it is actually cute. But where normally Pikachu has rosy cheeks, it is replaced by like a 2 and a 5 on the left and right cheeks respectively, to denote the 25th anniversary. I've done a horrible job of describing it, but like
No, you're doing a great job.
if
I
you
love it.
I guess it is accurate, but it doesn't capture the whimsy of the actual logo. Pokemon will, of course, be celebrating its 25th anniversary in 2021, and it sounds like we'll be learning more about the celebration and what it entails in the new year.
Do we have any points of speculation on what they could be celebrating? Are the 2 and 5 are those hints in their own right? Are we getting a Let's Go second generation? Maybe is that part of the 2? I don't know what the 5 would be, but like I that's half a good theory right there. Um, yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking? Like we know Pokemon Snap is on its way,
Right.
but beyond that, we don't know anything else about Pokemon's plans.
Yeah, I mean, this year was a little atypical in the sense that we got DLC for Pokemon
Yeah.
Sword and Shield instead of like a third version or instead of a sequel game. So it seems like next year would be teed up for another like big Pokemon game. I'd be all on board for a Let's Go 2. I really liked the first Let's Go games. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do to mark the occasion. I assume Pokemon Go will feature heavily in whatever
Oh
they
yeah.
do.
I mean, they want to make money, don't they?
They do like
Um,
money.
did you watch the parade at all?
No, I've never watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
We usually do, and we had it on for a little bit this year. But it's just such a weird, depressing thing with
Mm-hmm.
like no one in the stands to watch it, obviously. And then they're like showing the cast of Hamilton, and you're like, I don't think they recorded that today. Like that could be from last year. Like it's just a weird, sad state of affairs. So we watched it for like 20 minutes, then we're like, okay, wait, we don't need this anymore.
I heard Dolly Parton showed up, and so I need to YouTube that
Mm.
because that seems like the balm for my soul that I need.
Has her Christmas movie come out yet?
I don't know, but it does feel like it has to be perilously close.
Yes, we gotta be close.
Hey, Doom Eternal has a release date. It's
Also very
been
close.
a long time coming. The Switch version of the game was originally announced to release at the same time as the other consoles earlier this year, but after being delayed until later in 2020, we finally have an actual release date, and it's real soon. The game is coming out on December 8th of this year.
Wow.
The game is going to be digital only. Previously, retailers had been taking pre-orders for it, and then like a week or so ago, all the pre-orders started getting canceled. So people weren't sure,
Mm.
like, is the game getting canceled or is it becoming digital only? Turns out it is digital only. They also confirmed that the Ancient Gods DLC Part 1, which was already released on other platforms, will be coming to Switch at a later time. They didn't give anything more specific.
Oh man, it's. I mean, so the it originally came out. Doom Eternal came out on the other platforms back in April, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Same day as Animal Crossing, I believe. So like we'll be getting this game 8 months late. Um, which isn't a super good look. Especially like as the other consoles are releasing their newer generation models of everything. It's just weird. I'm excited this is finally coming to Switch. It just I don't know. It's so weird to have it like be pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah, I played the first game on Switch and had a blast. I was really excited for this one. I think I am still excited for it. Um, but it is weird when like the other console, like you can get it for $20 regularly.
Yeah.
And I went through the same sort of thing with the Outer Worlds, where I bought that at full price, enjoyed my time with it. Um, but it definitely wasn't, like the premier experience that you could get on other consoles for a lot less.
Yeah.
For like Doom Eternal, for any of these games, like the portability is, the killer feature. And yeah, I think I'll end up getting it, but I don't know that I'm going to get it a release. This might be another one like Phoenix Rising, where I wait a little bit until it goes on sale.
I think this also might be one where like checking to see how it runs that like
Yeah,
yeah, almost certainly this isn't going to be the recommended platform, but like how much the disparity between the PlayStation 4 and Switch version, like that'll that'll be a factor, I think.
totally. I think so too. A Super Mario All Stars event is coming to Tetris 99 this weekend, starting Thursday, December 3rd at 11 p.m. Pacific time and running through Monday, December 7th at 11 p.m. Or technically 10:59 p.m. Pacific
Thank you.
time. A new theme will be available, and scoring 100 points or more in the 18th Tetris Maximus Cup will reward players with the Super Mario All Stars theme. Is it Super Mario 3D All Stars?
No, it is Super Mario All Stars, so it
Oh,
looks like
whoa.
the Super Nintendo game. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really excited for that. I love these like themes for Tetris 99, and it's been a while
Me
since
too.
I've jumped in.
Me too. Well, it hasn't been a long time since I've jumped in, but I play all of them. But yeah, so I'm very excited for this for another like new theme to come about and give me an excuse to play some Tetris again.
The final Cuphead DLC, called The Delicious Last Course, has been delayed again to 2021. No surprise, really, the pandemic was cited as the main reason behind the delay. But the DLC was originally planned for 2019, got pushed back to 2020, and is now planned for 2021.
I mean, Cuphead itself is a game that was notoriously delayed for like ever and ever and ever anyway. It is only fitting that the DLC, which is probably ballooned to an enormous size and great value, I'm sure, also get delayed.
A couple of software updates from Nintendo. The Animal Crossing New Horizons Nook Link app, which is accessed through the Nintendo Switch Online app on your phone, has been updated to include new catalog features, including the ability to filter by item color, footprint size, cost, and more. There's also new like ability to favorite things. So it much easier seemingly to organize your catalog or peruse your catalog on your phone than it is in the game.
Which is ridiculous that these features aren't in the game, right? Like, why can't the fact that there's no search function in the game for your catalog? Because your catalog gets enormous. It's
Right.
any item you've ever bought or crafted appears in this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And the new filter features are kind of cool because you'd be like, okay, give me like a blue thing that's, like fits in two
yeah,
by two squares, and like costs 600 bells or whatever. Um,
yeah.
there yesterday Nintendo also released a Switch firmware update. Version 11.0 includes some new notable features, including a Nintendo Switch Online like home has been added to the home menu. Basically, down at the bottom next to the news app is now a Nintendo Switch Online button. You go into that, and basically it's cataloged everything. It's like the home for Nintendo Switch Online. So instead of being broken up into disparate parts, even though it is still broken up into disparate parts,
Yes.
there's at least one place where you can go that has all the information, including like all the benefits and your subscription information right there on the home screen.
Yeah, this is neat. I checked this thing out this afternoon, and like it is. I mean, first of all, the fact that it's like a big red button on the bottom of your screen and like everything else is the sort of like line drawings in like individual colors, but it's still mostly white or black depending on your theme. Um, but like this is a big red button that says Nintendo Switch Online, and when you access it, Mark is right that it gives you access to the Super Mario Brothers 35 to Tetris 99. It lets you know which games you can play using online multiplayer. But then you can also go into the individual games in the NES Switch Online and SNES Switch Online and launch them from there. So like if you just wanted to look at all the games released, alphabetically or by date, regardless of what system they were originally released on, you can select them there, and it will boot up the appropriate app and like put you right into the game from there. It's a cool little like way to present stuff that you already have access to, and sort of almost feels like the old Switch eShop or the old Wii eShop in some ways, where you're like just looking at a list of old games that you might want to play, only you already have access to them if you're paying the $20 a year.
Yeah, and I feel like it answers just I like as a user, as a consumer, like I knew because I was tuned into this sort of stuff, like what I got with
Yes.
Nintendo Switch Online. But other than being buried in the eShop itself and not really laid out all that clearly, there was no place you could go in on your Switch to just be like, I'm subscribed to this Nintendo Switch Online. Like, what do I get for it?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And like you don't download those apps automatically. Like,
Right.
but that button will be there if you are, or it'll be there regardless. But if you're subscribing to Nintendo Switch Online, then you will also have access to all those games.
A nice update for people who have multiple systems. When using software with the same Nintendo account linked to multiple systems, save data that's backed up from one console will automatically be downloaded to your other consoles now. So
Great.
before, if you were playing a game on one system, switch to the other, you had to manually go and download the latest save file. That won't be the case any longer, which seems like a nice quality of life upgrade. On your user page, a new trending feature was added. You can see what other people are playing, or I mean, it gives you a better sense of what other people are playing and stuff like that.
Mm.
You can now transfer screenshots and videos to your phone, instead of having to like tweet them and then download them from your tweet. You can now get them directly. It's an interesting system. Basically, it's all based on
Sort of
QR
cumbersome,
code.
yeah. Yeah.
So you say you want to do it, you use your phone and scan a QR code, and then you have to scan a second QR code to actually like pick the images that you want. But it's the technology behind it is kind of crazy because basically what it's doing is like it's turning your Switch into a server essentially and like a Wi-Fi hotspot because you launch it, you scan a QR code so that way your phone and the Switch get on the like are tuned into the same network, and then you scan it again and the Switch is like acting as a server to send the photos to your phone. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is definitely wild because like you scan the QR code and then there's like the little thing at the top of the screen that's like connect to server, and then like there's the name of your Switch and it's like what? Doing what? But yeah, it's a little bit it's not cumbersome. It is just a strange process, and it's actually pretty quick. I downloaded a video of Animal Crossing celebrating Turkey Day onto my phone just to see if it works, and it does.
Yeah, it's a nice feature to have. Also, the ability to transfer screenshots and videos using USB cable connected to your computer has been added. You can now have the ability to prioritize downloads when multiple like downloads are in progress. You can choose like this. No, this is the one like you should focus on downloading. Then you can move to the other ones later. This one I'm excited for. 12 new user icons. Based around Super Mario Brothers 35th anniversary, and just like some other stuff that I either didn't understand or didn't feel like cataloging.
Yeah, so just a bunch of little stuff to make your Switch experience a little bit better. Still no themes. We're
No
never gonna get those,
folders.
I guess. No folders. Yeah. I don't know. It's cool to see to see these new features. It makes me wish they could just go like whole hog and just like really revamp the like just
Yeah.
all the little things that it lacks. But it's still cool to see stuff like this coming to the platform.
SaGa Frontier, the PlayStation era anti-classic RPG from Square Enix, is being remastered and is headed to Switch, among other platforms, including mobile. The remaster
I
adds...
threw this news item on here. I'm absolving you of the responsibility of pretending that you know anything about this. SaGa Frontier, is this a game that you had heard of or have played at all, Mark?
It's a game that I had heard of. In fact, I think it was in the conversation around Octopath Traveler, right?
Yeah, well, because it has like a little bit of similar DNA to it, but Octopath Traveler might be, especially in its job system, a little bit more in line with like the Bravely games. But the sort of like central conceit of SaGa Frontier is that you picked one of 7 characters, and then like played through their individual stories, and the character stories like intersected in various ways. But there is some sort of scenario system or story system in this where basically every time you play it, it's a little bit different, and like what situations the characters find themselves in um, can be seemingly randomly generated. I'm sure I was doing something to affect it, but like I never could wrap my head around it. And always like an hour and a half into it would get to a boss that's dealing like way more damage, like, and I just like didn't have the ability to grind or whatever. As far as my memory goes, the game was borderline unplayable in the form it was in. But it had this like strange allure where I just like really wanted to play it and really wanted to like it. You know, a Square Enix RPG in the PlayStation era, right up my alley, right? Like, give me more stuff like this, but not like this. um, so they're adding a new character, an 8th playable character named Fuse, and re-implementing some scenarios and scenes that weren't in that they weren't didn't make it to the original game. It also the graphical style of the game is super strange. They used like pre-rendered sprites a la Donkey Kong Country, but put them in a 3D environment, especially in battles. So like it's a polygon 3D environment with 2D sprites that are based on pre-rendered graphics. And the upresing for the HD remaster here really brings out the sort of like, almost claymation detail of these pre-rendered sprites. So some of them look really cool. And I'm sure this game is still remains unplayable and will be bad. But it caught my attention, and for a second I thought it was 1997 again.
Yeah, somebody must love it. I I feel like Square Enix has been putting out a lot of these like either remasters or just bringing these older RPGs to Switch and other platforms, which I think is awesome because there was a lot of talk, especially about PS1 era Square Enix basically like losing a lot of the source code or not necessarily being able to like bring these games back. But yeah, totally. This is on the list with like the new Fire Emblem NES game that's being brought, where it's like even if I bought this, the odds of me like playing through it are like infinitesimal, just very tiny.
So small. It raises the following question though, right? Like SaGa Frontier, okay, fine, bring that back. They recently like within the last 2 years put out Final Fantasy 7 and 9. Did 8 end up coming to Switch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like 10 and 12. So like just a lot of these games, and the Crystal Chronicles, and the Collection of Mana, remaking Trials of Mana, all of this stuff, but they're leaving some of their like some of the most like well-regarded games unrevisited. Where's Chrono Trigger? Where's Chrono Cross? Where are Final Fantasies 4 and 6 and 5 for that matter? Where's Tactics? Like, what is happening? They have like so many of these games that are like unquestioned classics, and a bunch of these other games that are not, and they're reissuing the ones that are not.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger especially is interesting because I mean, like Chrono Cross, I feel like I don't know when the last time that we've seen any version of that game.
Yeah.
Uh, but like Chrono Trigger just a few years ago was released on PC. Granted, it was not in a form that like people were super happy about, but
It was like the mobile version, right? Or
yeah,
something like that? Yeah.
but it is like a weird omission to not have that game on Switch. Even if it was like the PS1 version. But yeah, I don't know. That's a really good point. It's crazy just how big like Square Enix's RPG catalog is, and it does
Totally.
have all those heavy hitters. Man, I would love to see like Final Fantasy VI on show up. Even it doesn't seem like we're gonna get it in like the SNES Switch Online, but I would pay money just to have it on its own.
I mean, it's on the Super NES Classic
Yeah.
Edition,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a weird inclusion. Secret of Mana as well. Um, but but again, it's like just those two games and not Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger. Like what? I I don't know. It says some of the things that they choose to like carry forward, and how they choose to carry them forward is just sort of mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, the online features for Super Mario Maker on the Wii U are being discontinued on March 31st, 2021.
Okay.
It'll no longer be possible to upload courses, and the Super Mario Maker bookmark website will also be shut down, which means that some of the like course world features tied to the bookmark site will also become inoperable at that point. To prepare for this, the game is going to be removed from the Wii U eShop on January 13th, 2021. You will still be able to like re-download it after that if you've already purchased it, but you won't be able to purchase it new after that point. Nintendo notes that it'll still be possible to play levels that were uploaded before the service is discontinued, so the game doesn't become inoperable. But that's a big
Right.
part of it that is going offline.
Which is fair. Like it's weird that you have to like operate the servers for both Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2 at the same time, especially when Super Mario Maker 2 sort of replaces the original. Like in both like the which one of these is going to get supported and which one are people actually playing. Um, but I mean, and the thing that's so weird about Super Mario Maker is um, the second one didn't really make as big of a splash as the original did, right? Like the first Super Mario Maker became a like Twitch phenomenon and was one of the few breakout like Wii U games. And on Switch, it sort of landed with like a sort of less enthusiastic uh it just wasn't it didn't have like the base. Like people were streaming and like playing levels and stuff, but like it didn't take long for it to become like overrun with those sort of like auto scroller levels or music levels and stuff just people didn't really want to play, in a way that like I think was also true of the original. But I don't know. I mean, do you have like a read on like why it's like that, or it
Yeah,
seems strange?
I wonder if it just comes down to like the novelty factor, because Super Mario Maker 2, especially through like the additions and expansions that they added, like where you could actually make an entire like world instead of having to do it course by course. Like all of that is really cool, and all of that is stuff that people had asked for previously. But I think that as far as like the maker tools and all of that, suffered a little bit from not having like the Wii U like gamepad.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it was just like not the like Super Mario Maker was such a novelty, and then this one is like, yeah, it is a good game, and it adds a bunch of new stuff, but the the Switch just had like more content. I think basically it was like a number of things. Novelty,
Yeah.
the fact that it wasn't that there was like more going on with the Switch, so less, like attention and like focus put on it by consumers. Like I think all those kind of stuff ended up just being like a bunch of paper cuts that eventually like took the whole thing down. I mean, not that it's
Yeah.
a unsuccessful game,
Not
it's
that
just that
yeah,
it never
no,
reached
not
the
that it was a
heights,
failure at all, right?
yeah, of the first one.
Um, but I think your point about the world maker features is like it's also important to remember that came over a year after the original game's release. Like that could be a situation of like too little, too late. Like why wasn't that a feature of the game at launch? if people were able to make worlds at launch. I feel like it would be a much bigger deal, and like a bigger selling point, and just like something. The whole, like you say, the whole thing in its original success was based on novelty, and then like releasing it on the Switch didn't really have a lot of novelty. It had one additional theme, and like, I mean, it didn't even have the Koopa Kids. They all came later, right? Like all this stuff that would eventually make the game. Like now, I think it is a complete and novel package, but it did not launch that way.
Yeah, and they kind of bobbled the online.
Yeah,
The connectivity was always pretty poor, and like you couldn't play with friends initially. It was all like just playing with
ridiculous.
like
Yeah.
random people. So I think you're right that like it just launched in kind of a okay state, and then there was never like I feel like a lot of these games that launch and then they have like a plan for improving it. They lay out the roadmap and they're like, "Hey, here's why you should stick with us. Here's what's coming." And Nintendo has just never done that and didn't do that in this case. And so you're just kept in the dark, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Hey, like worlds are here," but like you're saying, it was like at least a year or close to a year um after it was released that was rolled out, and I think people had just moved on by that point.
It's also weird the stuff that they did add to it, where it's like now Mario can be Link, and it's like, what is this? Like, and all that stuff too. Like when they have those special power ups, where it's like this can only be used in the 8-bit version, and you really have to design a whole level around the power up.
Yeah.
And then when you get hit, you lose the power up. Where it's just like, well, no, that's not the way a Mario game works, and not how Mario Maker works. So just a bizarre series of. I'm convinced they didn't have like a real plan for the rollout of that thing, or they had more ambitious plans and something because like the last of it rolled out during coronavirus times,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I bet there was, I bet something happened there where they had to like throw the brakes on it, and we're like, you know, adding new stuff to this game doesn't get us any more money. And like it is tough to. Not that Nintendo is doing poorly this year; they're doing very well. But coronavirus is hard on everyone, and it's harder to release stuff. So maybe all of that kind of folds in to make like a weird post-release schedule for this thing.
Yeah, because isn't there like in the game menus, there's like space
Yes.
for like one more theme, like very prominently, and just nothing ever came of that.
So I mean, it is even more damning than that, than there being like an obvious space for it. It's that the 4 original themes from the first game are all like in here are the themes you choose from, and then in like a separate window, there's a heading that says more themes plural, and the only one listed there is Super Mario 3D World, and then there's like space for what appear to be 3 more. So like it really looks like they had more stuff planned for this, or at least thought they would get to more, and simply didn't.
I mean, all of this is to say it's a game that I think has sold over 5 million copies. So they're
An
doing
abject
fine.
failure.
But yeah, but it was like a disappointing release. Like I don't think Super Mario Maker 2 lived up to anybody's expectations.
Which is all really to say that the turning off of these servers for the original Super Mario Maker on the Wii U is a big deal, and something that we will, pour out pour out our drinks for when it actually happens on March 31st, 2021. Which again, that's like the end of everything for Nintendo, right?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Also, great job like bringing that back full circle, because it was like, what prompted this diatribe
What were
about?
we talking about?
Yeah.
All right, Mark, let's close out the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. Mark, we haven't mentioned this recently, but if you would like to be our friends on Switch, you can send us friend requests. We accept every single one that comes our way. Our friend codes are in the description of the episode. At some point, we are going to hit the cap on friends, but we're not there yet.
Is there a cap on friends?
I thought there was, but I don't think we have 200 yet.
Oh, is it
but I think
200?
we're-
Yeah.
At one point, it was 200. And I think we are nearing that, but get in and send those requests now. I'm never going to delete any friends. You can follow us on Facebook. No, follow us on Twitter. You can follow us both places. But on Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. The Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
Have you ever encountered an unexplained hairy bipedal hominid in the woods?
Have you received telepathic messages from an unidentified aerial phenomenon?
If so, then you need to listen to Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm Michael McMillan.
And I'm Bryce Johnson.
And together with super producer
Riley Bray,
we make up the Bigfoot Collectors Club.
That's right. Every week we talk to actors, comedians, writers, and paranormal experts about their personal paranormal histories and share stories of high strangeness.
Like the time when we talked to Craig Ferguson about the Loch Ness Monster and when a sea witch told him he had raven magic.
Or the time I asked Pitch Perfect's Anna Camp her opinion on cattle mutilations. Past guests have included Rachel Bloom, Jen Kirkman, Paul F. Tompkins, Bobcat Goldthwait, and more.
So if you've ever been abducted alongside 5 reindeer by an alien with drills for hands or witnessed Bigfoot crawl out of an interdimensional portal,
Don't laugh, happens all the time.
then check out Bigfoot Collectors Club on Campfire Media or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bigfoot Collectors Club. You're here to believe us.
wait, is that how it goes?
Campfire.